All right, everybody, welcome to another edition of What's What BR. Today we've got two guests with us, East Coast and West Coast. We have Tim Murphy, who's the CEO of Boomers, and then we have Brandon Moore, who runs operations for some of these parks. These guys are in charge of fun and experiences, I would probably say, at the end of the day. So appreciate y'all joining us. Tim, how's it going today?
Hey, it's going great. Early for me, but going great on the West Coast.
West Coast early. How's it going, Brandon? You got a head start on me today because you're over on East Coast, right?
Yeah, East Coast, everything's going good. It's getting close to lunchtime for us over here, so the day's moving along great.
Yeah, well, awesome. Appreciate y'all being here. So the topic for today, you guys have, water parks, theme parks, the whole 9 yards. But if we drill in, Tim, can you give us, before we, drill in, can you give us kind of a high level of what, Boomers is doing, where,
Sure.
What's the impromptu state of the union and what you guys trying to do?
Well, obviously, because of the pandemic, it's change everywhere. So those are some of the things that we've got going on. But we have 8 parks. Let's just take it from the top. We have 8 parks total. 5 in California. They're family entertainment centers, go-karts, miniature golf, things of that nature, arcades, food. Brandon, who's on, is in charge of 2 water parks and an FEC, Family Entertainment Center down in Boca. The water park that we'll talk a little bit about with Big Kahuna's there in Destin is one of our main focuses when we spend a lot of money. But he also is in charge of Sahara Sam's, which is where he's based out of New Jersey. We have, again, 8 parks that are all different. Well, I'm on all time zones, but all, different areas. But we're doing a lot. We're spending a lot. We're really upgrading the parks. We took over in June of 2020, right during the pandemic. Good or bad, however you want to look at that. And that's been some challenges with some ups and downs with opens and closes. So, we took a lot into consideration when we were taking over this parks. Just a little more parameters. We took back the parks from another private equity firm. I work for the Cerberus private equity firm. And, we're here to fix these parks, really get them humming and running. And I will say, for the most part, on average, we're almost where we were in attendance in 2019, but our check average is up over 50%. Some of that is some changes we've made, some of the upgrades. One of the focuses that we were really looking for is to upgrade the parks. In the experiences of, say, Big Kahuna's, one of the things I looked at going is, we need a full liquor license. We need to upgrade the food. We need to fix the attractions. Brandon's done a masterful job down in Destin getting that adventure park running. And we just opened up the water park, and we spent probably to date, nearly $700,000. We got a little bit more to spend as well. We're really fixing up the park. The previous company didn't take care of, but we're not just doing it there, we're doing it in all 8 of our parks. So that's kind of what's the state of the union, if you will. But from the point of view from overall 30,000 feet in the entertainment industry, I'm just seeing the trends, people wanting to come out, go to these parks. That's the reason why the attendance is back to where it is. They're spending more than they ever have before. And I'm not just talking about just my parks. I talk to a lot of park presidents and other folks that are in the industry and theme parks and so forth. It's happening everywhere. So it's good to see this. So
it is. We started this podcast. We, probably right. It started with me just calling friends and, clients and colleagues, and be like, what's going on? What are you going to do? It was like, right, kind of the pandemic when they sent everybody home. Right. And so we just were talking, and I can watch, and we've got them all online, but you can go back, and it's so awesome to be able to see the last, almost it seems really 90 days that everybody's been this optimistic. Things are opening, things are moving, people are out spending money. And so you can almost watch the shift, the mind shift, as we do, because we've done almost 100, of these shows, and to be able to see that you guys have got 8 different parks and the logistics of kind of keeping up with all that, and then to be able to get open, to go from probably nothing to back. It's a yo-yo, right? It's almost somebody made the comment to me the other day that we need like a chief COVID officer, and now is what we need.
Well, and hopefully we're going to get past that, right? I see some new or some items that are coming out from the president that maybe we won't have to wear masks in the near future. I've been fully vaccinated. I know Brandon has as well, and it's coming. People are getting out, but we took a lot of those standards in the beginning when we took over, now what do we do? Okay, normally just operate a business and fix what we're going to do, but to the point we've had to do so much to get social distancing down, to get people, our team members wear a mask, guests coming in to wear a mask. Water park's a little different because when you're in because you're in a water park environment. I'll let Brandon talk a little bit about that. But we've done so much to do social distancing, and it also limits our capacity, what we can do in different parks because of the making sure that we have enough space between folks. Still, folks want to come together and they want to cram against each other, unfortunately, so we have to keep trying to police that the best we can underneath this COVID circumstance. But we've done a tremendous amount of education, of making sure that everyone's temperature checked, we wear masks, we've got all these different things, the protocols that are out there, and we're trying to be above and beyond and be a leader in what we do here, not just in the water park, but in all of our parks. So,
Yeah,
Brandon, would you like to say some more on that? So
yeah, I was gonna say, Brendan, from your side, every business, and you guys sounds like jumped right in. Like pandemic, we're going in, we're going to take it, we're going to run with this. But most businesses have an IT plan, a backup plan, a continuity plan. All these. Nobody has a COVID plan. Nobody had pandemic plan. And operationally, that's one of the things I always I bring up is, and I'll let you tell me more about this, but everybody, it was guidelines that you were given, right? It wasn't like, here's the rule and here's how, if you operate a water park or if you operate a family facility, here's the new rules that you need to follow. It's kind of like, here's some things that we think we're going to be needing to do. You got to figure it out yourself. And by the way, you need to do it right now.
Well, and that was part of what was coming out from the state, specifically in New Jersey and California. Things were different between those two states, even from Florida. Florida, the rules were very lax. In New Jersey, they came out with guidelines, for indoor swimming pools, but then they also came out with ones that were pertaining to just an arcade, then ones that pertain to water park / amusement park. So you had to take all those guidelines, put them together, come up with a COVID plan, submit that plan to the Board of Health, and they would come out and do a site inspection. And at that time, they would give us approval that we could actually open up. They were looking for things of, where are you going to quarantine somebody if they were to have COVID symptoms? How are you getting guests into the facility? What are you doing for line control? So they wanted, specifics of, this is how we're entering the attraction, this is how we're exiting the attraction. And then they wanted to know, what are you doing to sanitize, clean things out, in between everyone's use. So operationally, yes, there was a significant amount of stuff that had to go into it, that we had to, come up with policies. We created an entire COVID playbook that was, from the corporate side, that we pushed down to all of our locations. But then it was site specific, where each site had to come up with, all right, what's your local government telling you that you have to do, and what do we need to put in place at those locations? So it was a significant amount of work that went into it from the corporate level down to the park level with getting everything rolled out.
Yeah, no, I didn't think about it until you said that it wasn't, here's some guidelines and we just kind of implement this strategy, right? Like we said, we're all in 3 different time zones right now. So not only do you've got federal, then state, then local. So basically everybody's got a different playbook that they're reading, right?
Correct. Absolutely.
It was different playbooks and different guidelines. And even from the water park aspect, with Sahara Sands, they're looking at, all right, what's your HVAC capacity? How much fresh air are you putting into the building? How much air are you exhausting? So then they're wanting, then you have to make sure that your HVAC equipment's running at 100% capacity. You're bringing in outside air. One of the nice things with Sahara Sands is we have a retractable roof on it. So for us, we can open that roof up, and then it helps exhaust the air out and bring fresh air into the building. So those were all the things that were taken into account also.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine. We got to open the roof today. We need to freshen the air. We're going to open the roof at this schedule. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to open and close. So
from week to week, we're from park to park. We're like, okay, so where do you stand with COVID? What's the air quality in your areas? There's so many different aspects that you now have to take into consideration in this particular time frame of pandemic, what you need to do, let alone all the safety protocols and the guidelines that come along. It's like, okay, everybody's got a say in this. Everyone has, whether it's a health department, whether it's a city, whether it's the state. It's amazing when you really think about it, and to try to get all 8 parks open at the same time, that was a challenge. We did, but it was very limited in different capacities. So
wow. So needless to say, you guys spent probably just as much time on Zoom as I have, trying to talk and figure this out.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of time creating the policies, reviewing the policies, and then even after you got something created, the following week or 2 weeks from 2 weeks after that, the state would come out and say, okay, these are new guidelines that we want to have put in place. And so then we would have to come up with another game plan, additional signage, if it was stickers on the floor that tell people stand 6 feet apart. Those were all things that came into play.
I've been on calls where with companies going through, kind of here's our procedures, here's what and not once but twice has it been in the middle of the call like, wait, hold on, I just got an email. Let me read what this one said, and they've had to like retool, the plans because it literally dropped as they were kind of like, here's what we came up with, and then it was a new guideline. Of here's what we need to follow. So I thought it was interesting.
And to that point, weekly, I have calls with our private equity firm just to make, they understand what's going on and where our investment is going. And they're like, well, okay, so this happened last week. I said, yeah, but it just changed today. So now we've got to do this in all these parks. And it's crazy because to the point Brandon made, every week something comes out. So, in the case of California, I mean, we were trending along well, and then all of a sudden the whole government shut down. I mean, just everything in the state of California shut down in early December. So of course we had to furlough a lot of folks, shut down the whole park, no different than what Brandon had to go through New Jersey. We looked at it from different points of view as well at Big Kahuna's as we were starting to work on a lot of items. So, we really had to take almost every day is a new playbook, for the past 9-10 months. So. I said it in a couple of some with my staff meetings, it's kind of the old, if you're not confused, you're obviously not paying attention, so. Absolutely, from day to day.
So tell me,
imagine trying to explain that to a private equity firm that's pretty straight by the book. Okay, this is what happens. Okay, this is how we make money. And you have a problem with this, and another problem, and another problem. Do you guys not know what you're doing?
I know the private equity firms all too well, and the way I would sum that up is like, how do you put that into a spreadsheet? Like, how do you that's the guys I know there. It's like if it's not in the spreadsheet, then it doesn't necessarily matter. We don't care. But how do you explain this to me with a spreadsheet?
And the only thing you can do is work off of small wins and keep building on those wins, which is what we did. We focused on per caps, per check average, starting to see attendance move. And then when they start seeing that going, oh, okay, you guys do know how to run this. Okay, so that's good. We're behind you. We're supporting you. So, but it's the ups and downs of the third parties. We can't control the municipalities.
I think it's funny you say that. I watched a video the other day. I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek and some of his stuff. And he was talking that to not deviate, but the short version is he talks about measuring not just the KPIs that we all look at, but measuring the momentum, that we're building on those. That, if we pick, if it's a salesperson and we say, here's your goal, it's like, well, that's just some random arbitrary day. But if we're trending, to hit that goal, just because we didn't hit it didn't mean we did bad. Where the momentum is, we're going to get to that goal. We're going to be there, but just the random day and random time that we stuck on a calendar, we didn't make it there. It can cause problem in a culture, sometimes.
Absolutely. And if I may, just talking about the culture. So, the previous company was focused on season passes. So we outside of season passes are local to the Big Kahuna's area, people that are very close by. It's a very touristy area. So we want folks to come. We decided across the board to pull season passes out, except for the Big Kahuna's location, because it was a different mindset. If you think about season passes, now granted, there's season passes for theme parks. They've been around for a long time, annual passes, things of that nature. But does this work in our environment? Well, every park is a little different. You got to change the perception. So when the culture is focused on money today, to pay today, which was the season pass, but if I get a season pass in, it's like a Ponzi scheme. You can't pay tomorrow. You can't pay the next day, right? If you don't have all the structure in place. So when I looked at the numbers of the previous company, year one, numbers went up. Year two, they leveled off. The last 2 years, why they went bankrupt, they went straight down because they were not putting money back in the infrastructure of the facilities, which is what we've decided to do with the parks. But that culture is a culture shift that's very ingrained. It's changed today. Would you say, Brandon, it's changed today, across the parks?
And the culture has changed. Guests are coming. Guests want to get out, and they want to get out, have fun, and they're willing to spend to have fun, and have a great time, which is, goes back to what Tim said from the beginning, why we've taken a different approach of we've relooked at all of our locations and we're putting an influx of cash at the locations to improve the appearance, improve the attractions, and make the experience for our guests that much more enjoyable when they get out.
No, I think it's, it's funny how many times I see people, business, we all, as business owners and CEOs, that kind of that higher level, we'll all put ourselves sometimes in a room and go, all right, what do our customers want? What do we want to do? And it's like, why don't we bring a customer in here? Why don't we talk to them? We can't solve these problems in our four walls all by ourselves. Like, we can do the operational, we can do the tactical, but let's go talk. Like you said, it's like the customer probably, may not care for the season pass. They care more about, like, well, if you have a season pass, but nothing changes and the quality of the park deteriorates, what good is the value of the season pass? The season pass, to me, not even being in the business, would be like, I want it because I'm going to go frequently because things change, things look good, and I'm going to continually to go have that experience. But if it falls and nothing's new,
Right.
What's the point?
Well,
And so we go ahead. No, go ahead.
That was the issue we were seeing is you got that initial cash, influx from the guests everybody that was buying the season pass, but then you start to see a downward trend. In-park spend went down. The guests that were coming to season pass holders, they're not spending money on food and beverage while they're at the park. They're not buying your retail items. So to continue to improve the park became harder and harder and harder because you weren't continuing to see an income of cash. You were getting it all right there at the beginning of the season. They would spend it at that point in time, and then you would get towards the end of the season. It's like, all right, where's our CapEx dollars? We need to repair this ride. We want to put new attractions in, and you weren't allowed to do that because that was one of the downfalls of the season pass program.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so what we did, besides the investment that Cerberus graciously gave us to begin with, as we identified things we need to do when we took over, we also said, okay, in 2021, if we hit the numbers we're going after, and we're crushing the numbers right now for 2021, which is great, but we're spending $6.7 million total on all of our parks this year. So we're spending a lot of investment. We're taking that cash flow coming in and putting it right back into those parks. Some of the things that we're doing are unique. Meaning we talked about, we've got a full liquor license now in our two Florida locations. They weren't there before. I'm doing some things like that in California. We've upgraded our food. We've fixed a lot of equipment to Brandon's point of view. It's, how many motors and things that have not been addressed in the past. How many of the slides needed to be reglazed at the big kahunas. We also said, what, we got assets here we haven't really utilized. We have an adventure park that no one really probably knew they were there. We're one of the largest miniature golf courses on the Emerald Coast. We have 54 holes there, but it was covered with debris, meaning foliage and everything else and trees. We cleaned it all up. We're putting a rooftop bar on the top of it, overlooking the Gulf. We're making this a nice thing. I'm a commercial real estate broker in the state of Florida. I came from Orlando, and it's about curb appeal, right? And the first time I went to the park, I'm a runner, so I ran past the park and go, what does guests look at from Highway 98 there? And I'm like, okay, I don't think I'd be too happy to walk into the park. When we took over, we need to do so much. Brandon's team has done a tremendous job on really fixing up the park and putting a lot into it. Again, we spent over $700,000 to date, and we got more that's coming. But the point is, a lot of this just needed to be fixed and painted and replaced. And you had rotten wood, you had falling down fences. What were you guys thinking? Again, back to the point of the Ponzi scheme with season passes. People like the low value of a season pass. I get that as a consumer. But at the end of the day, you're not getting enough money in to even pay tomorrow's bills. So you're always trying to catch up the next day. I can't do it. And that's hence the reason why the previous company went bankrupt. So we decided, okay, we're going to put a tremendous amount of money in CapEx, not just in Big Kahunas, but all of our parks. And we're going to put more in, and we're going to show more opportunities. We intend to bring some more family entertainment attractions to the facilities. We're putting up a rock wall here very soon. And it's just, we're adding to the cyclone and the miniature golf and all the different slides. But the idea here was, let's get a park that's appealing. To your point, you just said a little earlier, is that's something I did in all of our parks. I sat down, what does a guest see? I sat nearly in every place that you could possibly be or looked at, what does a guest see and what does it need to be exceptional, that now we start selling experiences and not just someone coming in for one day. I want to sell experience. We're also doing some major infrastructure changes, structural changes for training purposes, for guest customer service, for new experience. I worked for Disney for 6.5 years, and it's about experience.
Oh, there it is.
And you bring experience to the table, people will come back, and they'll be very happy to do it.
I love the story. You probably heard it. I believe, if I get it right, Steinbrenner, bringing everybody in that worked, with the Yankees, and brought them all in and said, what business, are we in? What do what business do we do? And started asking everybody. And the guy's like, oh, I park the cars. We do the concessions, which, baseball. And he just looked at everybody and was like, no, you're all wrong. We're in the business of making memories, whether it be the smell of the hot dog, the crack of the bat, that's the business that we're in, and as you said, it's the experience. You're not selling water. You're not selling a water slide. It's the family photo that makes it, on the back, behind someone's desk, that's, where'd you take that? Oh, we went to Big Cajonas in Destin. We spent, we loved it. We went for a day. We loved it so much. We went back, 2 more days, that's it. Right. So
that's in a nutshell versus the thought process is in the past, and then don't get me wrong, business is business, but in the past, they were thinking, how do I extract money from you? But they weren't thinking about what that next step was. All they want to do is extract the money. Well, for a period of time, that shows up to the guest. Well, all you're doing is taking my money, but you're not doing anything for me. We're making a physical investment in these parks to really turn them around. But at the end of the day, it comes down to experience. I mean, we have 8 parks, but truly, I'm looking at 50 others kicking tires on and hoping that we can turn them into what the Boomers Parks experience is. Big Cajonas, a Boomers Park. We were trying to create that experience, throughout and try to get brand.
So dive in. I'm gonna go to Brandon on this one here. For where we are, we're entering the time here in Baton Rouge where I say we're about to be at the point where nothing can happen. And I mean that by deals don't happen because everybody is either going to the beach next week, at the beach this week, or just getting back from the beach. Everybody in Baton Rouge at any point in time, in the summer, you got a third of the whole population is going to Destin, Gulf Shores, Orange Beach. That's just, it's the way it happens. Like nothing, you can't get a deal done, until August. So with that said, to really dive down in, on Big Cajonas, what's new? Because everybody's past it, who's driven. If you've gone to Destin, it's the landmark. Is it before or after, kind of thing? What do we tell people? What's different? What do we want them to look for?
Well, and it goes back to what Tim said, a little bit ago. Appearance is everything to a consumer and to people that are coming into the area. Before, when you drive up and you would see Big Cajonas, you could almost drive past it at most times because it was overgrown or it looked run down. And that's the perception that we've changed. We've gone in, we've cleaned it up, we've repainted. Every slide's been repainted. So now when you're driving down, you can see the park, because now it's visible. You drive, you can look, you can see the miniature golf course. You can see signs that say, hey, we're open. We have a miniature golf course. We have a cyclone. You can see the water park attractions. It's colorful. It's bright and it pops. Some of the pictures you were showing earlier of those slides up at the very beginning, it was a faded out green color. Now it's a nice vibrant green color that you see right up front. We put the reds, we put the blues, we put the oranges, the yellows, everything that's bright and vibrant. That way, when you're in that area, it pulls you in. You look across the street. There's a building across the street that's all nice and vibrant. Well, that's what guests were drawn to. But no, now they're drawn towards Big Cajonas because you can see it. You can see the colors. You get inside the park. We fix the attractions. There was significant amount of capital that had to get put into. We had almost 25 motors that had to get replaced because they just didn't work over the years. Fixing the motors, fixing the rides. We had 4 water slides that were down, and it was just a matter of bringing somebody in to get fiberglass work done. Or it was a part of one of the supports that needed to be replaced or something. Things along those lines that we had to go in and just fix it. It's guests are saying, well, I'm spending this money, but I can't get on this attraction because half your rides are closed, or you don't have the proper equipment to get it done. So those were the things we addressed. We looked at what are we giving you when you're inside the park. So we looked at our deck furniture, our cabanas, and we enhanced all those items. If we're gonna charge a premium for guests to come in, let's make sure the experience is there. Like you said before, it's about creating memories. So we looked at the cabanas. Guests don't want to sit in a chair that's been sitting there for the past 10 years and it looks moldy or dirty because that's what we had. No, we went out and spent significant money on bringing in new furniture, bringing in, the nice deck furniture, Adirondack chairs, lounge chairs, couches and stuff like that. That's all going to be placed inside our cabanas, or, like Tim said, we created the rooftop bar area. It was an area that we stumbled upon. It was there from the very get-go when Big Kahuna's was built, but it was overgrown with landscaping. We cleared it out, and now it's under construction. And it's, as we cleared out, all the landscaping there, you can see the golf clear as day from this rooftop bar. So we put that in there. We've got our Boomers backyard that we created at our Boomers locations in California that we're pushing out everywhere. So we put a Boomers backyard, experience in there, where it's, you got the TVs, you've got the, recliners, you've got the, the couches. You can sit out there and enjoy foods, enjoy cocktails and beers. And we've added that experience at Big Kahuna's also. So it's everything, from the signage to the appearance to, what the guests can experience. And, like Tim said before, even from the food options that we have, increasing the food from the traditional, hey, I'm just going to get amusement park food. Well, you can still get some of your traditional amusement park food, but it's enhancing that food. It's not the cheapest chicken tender that you can buy from your vendor. No, it's a higher quality chicken tender. It's better French fries. It's, just making the appearance of the food when it comes out more presentable versus just, hey, throwing it on a plate and just handing it out to the guests. Adding the flatbreads, adding the Nashville hot menu that we put out in place. In addition, then we put a Korean barbecue menu out there. So it's enhancing the food. Then that, that all adds to it to enhance the experience of the guest.
No, I think it's going back to what, Tim said, taking, and I'm seeing some of this is probably coming from those days of Disney, to where if you've got, like I personally, I just don't eat fast food. It's been, I went a long stint without eating it, and then it turned into, well, if I hadn't eaten it in this long, I don't need to eat it, and I can keep it. Like now it's running on like 5 years at this point, and so not that it's any good, didn't help me health wise. I don't think a bit. If anything, it was worse. But the concept I'm going with this is, if you can keep that guest there, if they're not sitting in the old busted patio chair, and then it's not just give me the cheap chicken tender and fry, that's horrible. I'm going to leave to go get something to eat. And then now you've got to hope that I'm going to come back, right? Versus, hey, we can all get something, here and actually have a quality, meal in a nice chair, commanded to sit at. I've been places and I've had to stand and eat. It's like, you just start to get aggravated. And then it's a tipping point, where it's like, I didn't have any place to eat. I'm standing, I'm putting my food on top of the garbage can, to try to eat. And it boils over.
Correct. And it's that. And it's also understanding the tourists. When tourists are in the area, the trend is typically, they're going to come into the water park. They're going to experience the water park for the day. But we also have another aspect. We have the adventure park. We get them in during the day for the water park side of it. They get their lunch, they get their, they have their cocktails, and such. They have a great time throughout the day. Most guests at that time, they leave, they go back to their hotel rooms, they grab dinner, but then they want to come back at night. So we created that atmosphere for the nighttime with the rooftop bar that we're putting in place, with the Boomers backyard, with enhancing the miniature golf courses, with fixing, the adventure park rides that we have. Now we can bring the guests back at a second time while they're there, and then they experience both aspects of the park itself versus just saying, hey, we're only a water park. Well, no, we're more than a water park. We got the adventure park side of it also. And to go back to what said earlier was, just then adding additional attractions. We're putting a rock wall in this year, and then we're looking at, down the road, putting more attractions in also.
And if you know the tourist areas, takes just about all the employees. So we had to get real creative with the employees. In the past, they brought a lot of J1s in. Well, with the change that took place during the pandemic, as well as what we're trying to go through, we're doing very little with J1s. We're trying to bring it all from the local workforce. And that's what it used to be. Big Kahuna's used to be this. I've talked to my landlord is the founder of it. And, these are things that was a staple for the Destin area. People go there. Kids from high school would go work there. This was like the preferred place to go to. But because of other private equity firms not taking care of this in the past, you see the decline. So people weren't going there. So it was very hard to get employees. And they were just fine with just hiring J1s to come in versus saying, no, we've got the local workforce right here. Big believer in bringing in the people that we've got. And we've really incentivized them, not only in compensation on an hourly basis, but also retention bonuses and things of that nature. And thank goodness right now we're primed for the summer. We're ready to go. And We may never do a J1 again. We could, but it's not. It gives us options where we weren't there before. And if you were to look at old reviews of what took place with Big Kahunas, a lot of things were closed down. They didn't have the personnel necessary. We train everyone that comes on board. We make sure they're going down the path we want, ultimately going for that experience that we're trying to deliver to our guests. But when you have folks that are maybe not speaking the same language, there's some breakdown of that. And so now ultimately you're trying to go to the local workforce that's there, bring them in, compensate them well, become a preferred provider in the area. I mean, we're the largest water park on the Emerald Coast area, let alone the miniature golf that we talked about earlier. So, we should attract people to see that this is a fun place to come to. And, that's what we're all about, is really unleashing our fun. This is how we do it. That's our tagline. But the bottom line is, let's tap to the workforce. Let's get them to come in. Let's have them a good time. And then we ultimately know that'll go to our guests. And that's what we're trying to accomplish.
That sounds. Go ahead, Brent.
I was going to say, and on Tim's point, it wasn't just about rebuilding the park, rebranding the park. It was rebuilding the reputation of Big Kahunas in the community. Also, it got to that point where the mentality was, well, you don't want to go work at Big Kahunas because they just hire J1s and they don't care about the local community. We're almost 95% staffed now by rebranding, reinserting ourselves into the community to become a community partner with locals from that area. Putting in hourly bonuses for our hourly team members, putting in retention bonuses, putting in team member appreciation parties and stuff like that. That way we show the community, hey, we want you to come work here because we want to be one of the top employers in that area.
We have in our company, one of our, with every company, you kind of have your core values. One of ours that I've always instilled is, and it's unique, I guess I haven't found too many people, but it's literally, we call it act as if, and what I mean by that is act as if you're the owner, act as if you're the CEO from no matter where you are, that you can make the decisions, we're going to be behind you and we want you to act as if, this is yours, because it is. And we want you to go walk, if you walk through and there's trash on the floor, pick it up, it's little things like that where everybody does it. I take out the trash, and I'm not afraid to, do it. And our team takes out the trash, we all work together. And when you build that team and that culture, you get people that do care and they will act as if, they are, Tim and running the CEO, position. And that's what helps, I think, at the end of the day. And guests can see that, it's not just like, hey, where's the bathroom? Oh, it's over there. And you take it right here. Let me show you. Let me walk you over,
Sure.
That those little things make the difference, right?
It's the experience. But to your point, we also implemented 10 core values. One is honesty, integrity, and transparency. We want all of our team members to know what's going on. In the past, that wasn't, basically allowed. I mean, you didn't hear everything. You didn't know everything was going on. Things were hidden. I don't believe in that. And more each week, we're trying to bring in more and more of our management team and team members to really understand what's going on, to tie this together. I mean, we're in a business to make money at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. So, one thing it's one of the core values is innovative risk taking. Come on, guys, let's think about what do we need to do to set the bar up higher. I'm always looking at new things. And I always say to the team, it's like, well, who else is doing this? No one else is doing it. So why don't we? Why don't we do these types of things? And let's start implementing that. And if you take a look at the water park industry, there's some great parks that the big, theme parks have. They're great. But then there's a lot of other water parks like ours, that's Big Kahunas or the FECs, and not much is put into this infrastructure to make this right. So that's where I think we can definitely be a leader in this. Just utilize the same, I say this to a lot, what would Disney do? Work for Disney. I think about what does Disney do? I mean, the same experience you're going to get in Orlando at, say, Epcot or the Magic Kingdom is going to be the same as you're going to get in Disneyland or California Adventure in California. So why don't we give those experiences at our parks and other parks we might buy? Because that's ultimately what the guest is going to resonate with and remember. To your point earlier, what is that experience that they're going to have? Did they have a good time? Great. We're really thankful for all the things we've seen to this point, but we can't wait to open up Big Kahunas for the full summer and really see what we've done for this year. So that's been it's a fun thing to watch, all the things we've progressed in that park. So even though there's more attractions will be coming as we go into future years, because we'll utilize our cash flow and put it back in, that's the goal with the private equity firm. to keep putting it back in to make this park better. We knew that we had to do a major facelift in culture, in cost, and things we need to do, paint, whatever it took to make this park successful. And I think the guests are really going to be pleasantly surprised when they come in this year.
So are you guys, is Big Kahuna's open right now? I think I saw is it open, or I know we got a grand opening, coming. I know there's a ribbon cutting,
right,
coming up pretty soon.
So our adventure park's been open since March. We opened that up, and it's been doing really well with, the perception already, just with the appearance, has been great. The consumers loving it. We talk to everybody as they come in. And then the water park, we opened that up 2 weekends ago, and weather unfortunately hasn't played in our favor. The opening weekend 2 weekends ago, it rained both Saturday and Sunday. But it was good. It was a soft opening for the team. They were able to, we were able to work through, some of the things that we needed to operationally, if it was from point of sales to processes, and we were able to figure that out over the past 2 weeks. And then yes, we do have our VIP event coming up on May 13th, where we're really doing ribbon cutting and kicking the park off for the summer, because then starting that following Monday, that's when the park goes 7 days a week.
That's a full-time job. My wife and I owned a swim club, like a swim club. It was, pool, concession stand, and, 50-meter, 6-lane. We thought this was amazing business to get into, not from a, financial, but from my kids will grow up, they'll be lifeguards, they'll work the concession stand. Absolutely not what I was expecting to get into. It was from, not beating up on some of the, the kids that worked for us, but, like when you get that call, like, I can't come into work today. And I'm like, all right, you sick? What's wrong? They're like, no, we're going to the trampoline park. It's like, no, that's not how this works. I need you here, it's come over. So God bless you guys for dealing with it at that scale. I couldn't deal with it, I can't even eat a snowball anymore after seeing what was involved with that.
Well, when you start looking at it, and there's fundamentals to every business, right? I mean, prior to becoming CEO of another FEC, as well as what I'm currently in, I was a CFO. But you look at numbers and you start saying, okay, what do the numbers tell you? It always paints a story. What's the story? What could we do with this? And if you take the consistent approach, which is interesting, because the previous company had 16 parks during the whole bankruptcy. We were the lender to that company. We shedded some parks, the other 8 parks, and we kept our 8, which we believe are the best 8. We looked at it and go, okay, what could we do to really change perception of the parks? How do we really control? And it's what the guest is looking for, which is, I think, different than what a lot of companies do in this type of business, because they think, get in, I can make some money, and we do this. But if you now take a consistent approach, you create a consistent brand, you get a consistent message, consistent foods, consistent presentation, then frankly, what is private equity looking for? Some way to cookie cutter this approach. I mean, that's all they do. Okay, you can do that? Great. All right, now we can pop it into more things and do the same thing. So that's what we're trying to look at, is how do we really create a consistent brand? Boomers Parks. Boomers Parks could be different names, like Big Kahuna's in the water park. Could be FECs. If it's an FEC, we may turn it into a Boomers Park. That's probably most likely the case, because that's what people resonate with. Not that I went to this water park, I went to that miniature golf. They don't resonate with that. They resonate with a brand. And that's ultimately what the value is in this approach. So.
No, it's funny you mentioned, I was about to some way drive us down there, that's ultimately, too many times I talk to people about their brand. And I'm like, so what is your brand? And they'll be like, well, our logo is this, and this, and this is how we do, our advertising. I'm like, no, your brand is not your logo. Your brand, we've said this, I feel like we should be playing a drinking game. Every time we say the word experience, we should all go, but that's what it is, that if I'm going to a Boomers Park, whether that be Big Kahuna or any of the other ones, that experience is going to transcend wherever I go. And I know that I'm, if I go to Big Kahuna's in Destin, I've got good, nice, clean furniture, and I'm not using the lid of the trash can to be my table. The same thing happens in New Jersey, and the same culture is there. That's what Apple's taught us. That's why we pay overpriced, for these phones, is because we know it's consistent what we're going to get. It's going to work. I can go into any Apple store and I'm going to see the same guys with the same badge and the same tables, and I'm going to have the same experience. And I like it and I trust it, and I'll pay for that experience.
And I'll pay for the premium. Yeah, and that's the name of the game, right? So,
Right.
that's ultimately what we look at, with the parks, is creating that same experience, because if you do that, it resonates really well with the guest. And so, the subtle things that we've done, we say we're Boomers Parks. Okay, so that was part of the thought process. So the previous companies, I won't say the name, the previous company had their own, but you could identify it. What did that mean? But Boomers steps out there and says, okay, we can do something with this. We changed the logo a bit. We changed the color scheme. Why did we change the color scheme? Well, we were looking for, ultimately, when I was recommending this, we were looking for a demographic that was more of a mature crowd. So we went the blue and the red. The previous was like orange and bright and yellow and things of that nature. But also the subtle backgrounds of white and black and gray. Even though Big Kahuna's has got the very Hawaiian type of theme, it's still going to be that park, and you're going to start seeing elements of this coming into the park in different areas. Why? What were we going after? A mature crowd. The previous company was focused on 2 to 12-year-olds, but really, who's coming into the park? Walk around. Destin is a definite tourist area, and you probably have a higher percentage of kids there, no problem. But when you really look around, who's buying? I want mom and dad to stay there much longer. I want families to stay there longer. I want to bring in corporations. I said this loosely before, we're kind of like the Dave and Buster's on steroids. We have all these things, outside things, let alone indoor things, all the foods that we're bringing in. So we want this to be an experience. And at the end of the day, it's a business. So people like that experience. They're willing to spend more. They feel it's a premium they're willing to spend for. And that's what we're trying to capture at the end of the day, is that experience, but also knowing that we're going after the right demographic. And we're also, if you think about it, the previous colors that were so bright, unlike Big Kahuna's, because it's made for that, that turns off a lot of folks if you're trying to bring in corporations. The human resources department don't want to come. The CEOs don't want to show up to these parks. I've experienced this in the past of the previous FEC that I was with as a CEO, and we started to change the colors. Well, that's the idea here. You change the colors that will go after the folks that will be most excited about being there. And so in Big Kahuna's case, we've really upgraded the colors because it's a Hawaiian theme. It's a Boomers Park, but it's a Hawaiian theme. That's what Big Kahuna's is about.
That's awesome. Brandon, it looks like you got your hands cut out for you, this summer. Don't want your job by any stretch of the means. But I appreciate you spending some time with us. I think everybody should give it a shot. I think if that's the message, it sounds, we're promising you a great experience all the way through, whether you're going down the slide or whether you're getting something decent to eat, from a concession stand. I'll go, I'll do this, but I think what we didn't talk about, but what just kind of came through is there's something for everybody. If you don't like the water slide, you can still go. There's going to be other things, that you can do there. You can be the guy, I go to theme parks. I hate roller coasters. I just don't want to touch one. I'm the guy holding everyone's purse and bag and coat at the, the bottom. So hopefully for those, you got some benches for somebody like me, if you had, I'll do some water slides, not all of them, but it sounds like this is, like I said, a third of, our community is going to be making our way down there over the next couple months. Give it a shot. If you can't make it during the day, stop by at night. Got a great rooftop bar. Sounds like we're going to have that you can take a look and let the kids run around and play putt-putt. You can't really get hurt there doing that.
Yeah, and you're correct. The experience when you get there is going to be completely different than somebody would have experienced in previous years, from just changing, just the appearance to what you will experience while you're inside the park, with all the attractions being open. To be able to, to your point, instead of having to find a place to go sit and eat, we put picnic tables in place that are, they're actually the Boomers colors. That's how we put those into places. Bright reds and blue picnic tables. We've added, the additional seating areas. So everything's there for someone to come and enjoy an entire day. Coming in during the day, enjoy the water park, and then come back in the evening and enjoy the things that we have to offer at the adventure park. And it's an all-day experience for somebody.
Absolutely. And that's, like you mentioned, when you opened, you had some rain, but in adventure park, you can still roll in the rain, right?
Yeah.
Not a problem there.
You still get out there on the golf course. We've got 54 holes. We put all new golf greens in this year. We repainted the golf course, cleaned up the foliage. It's, it truly is amazing to be able to stand there inside the golf course, and you can, as you're standing there, you can look straight out and you can see the ocean from right there. So the experience just itself while you're in there, just from that aspect, is what adds to being at the park.
That's what I'd recommend it, because I know I can take my kids and let them go play miniature golf, and I can have a drink. And because that's, we all take these vacations, and friends, we all talk about, we're going to go on vacation, we're going to bring the kids, but then when we get there, it's like, when are we going to go on vacation without the kids? So I'm looking for these little tips right here where I can go have a drink at the bar and I'm eye shot of the kids still playing, on the miniature golf course, and then I'm kind of get 2 for 1.
Well, and that's the key with the rooftop lounge that we're building right now. It sits right in the middle of the miniature golf courses, so you can be up top there, and you can see all the way around the entire miniature golf course area. Or you can sit down in our Boomer's backyard, which is at the entrance of the miniature golf. But your kids are going to be in there playing golf, and as they walk back out, you're going to be sitting there having a great time also. So we did, it truly was about bringing it to where it wasn't just for the kids, but it's also something there for the adults also to experience.
Bring the kids arm's length distance.
Yep.
gives you an opportunity to go relax, and that's the whole point.
And there is something, I'm gonna get beat up. We do. We also have a parenting publication. I'm gonna get beat up for this. But it's the parks. This is closed in. They're not gonna wander off. They're not gonna get. They're not gonna drift away. They're not gonna go find something. You've got all that in place. So let them play. You can keep an eye on it, and then enjoy your time. There as well. So
absolutely.
Look, guys, I appreciate you stopping in, spending some time. Tim getting up early. Brandon, you didn't have to get up early, but hey, I'd love to, have you guys back on here, how it's going, what's going on when we start seeing these crazy people from Baton Rouge and South Louisiana make their way over. Hopefully everybody will at least give a day, out of your vacation to stop in and, try it out. It's like, I would say, if nothing else, it's like, give it a shot. Forget what you knew in the past, and let you guys earn the business back. That's what we need.
And that's our overall goal. We come out and see us, come take a look at us. We are definitely different management. We have a different style of how we think of things, but it's about the guest and the guest experience. But it's also providing what we think the guests want. I mean, I'm a guest too. I used to have annual passes at Disney. Besides working there after leaving. So. But I've experienced some big ones, some small ones, but it's like, what do we bring to the table that will make the guests say, well, that was a pretty good experience. I mean, it's not Disney, we don't have a budget like Disney, but we definitely went in and said, what can we do to really fix these parks? And our whole goal is to keep putting back into the parks, keep adding more things as we go forward. You could say, well, what's new? We've done a lot of new stuff, and we do one attraction is the rock wall that we're bringing the FEC that's coming up. It's not there yet, but it's going to be installed soon. Once we get permitting and so forth for it. But the bottom line is we have more things. When we closed down 8 parks, I took 50 of those attractions to California from those 8 parks. So I have opportunities to take them other places, which is our goal. And some of the parks we're doing that right now. Some of my goal and plan is for Big Kahunas next year. But the idea here is we had to fix them first. We had to get the guest experience to say, what you have here works. All right, now when we see new things in the future, that's cool. We'll be on board with that. But we needed to fix that because it was like nothing was spent on these parks. To the point Brandon was talking about, now you can see the golf. You couldn't see that from the miniature golf. I walked through that multiple times in the beginning when we took over. It's like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. I wouldn't play golf there, but now it's beautiful. I love to play golf there because the view is so good. That's really what's kind of cool about it. That's why people go to Destin, right? They go to the beach, of course, but they're looking at the golf. This is a cool place to be. So.
I told somebody told a family member that was in Destin last year that we were having you guys on the show, and she was like, and she did this, kind of that fit, like, oh, I'm like, no, it's a new group. They've taken over, they've redone everything. You'll have to watch the show, but that's going away. You guys have gotten rid of that, and so. Hey, we appreciate you doing it. I think it's hard work, and somebody's got to do it, but you got to do it right. And it sounds like you guys are. So,
well, Brandon and his team have done a great job down there. People do need to come out and see the differences. So
awesome.
You'll like it when you come to the VIP event. So
I am. I'm excited. So I appreciate you guys spending time. I always say everybody's got more important things to do than talk to me all day. So I appreciate you guys taking some time. Like I said, love to have you back, kind of hear how it's going, get an update for everybody, because it's we got to remind everybody. They might think of it now and say we're going to do it, but we got to remind them in a couple of weeks, to do it again. So, love to have you back.
Happy to do it, Brandon. Appreciate it.
Appreciate the time, guys.
Pleasure.
Thanks.